Pause for a moment and listen. What I'm about to tell you might sound absurd, but it's the absolute truth. Everything you've learned about success is wrong. Everything. It's not about luck. It's not about intelligence. And it's definitely not about working yourself to exhaustion. I discovered this in the most painful way possible. And what I'm about to reveal to you is something that only 1% of people on this planet dare to apply. And that's precisely why they control almost all the money in the world. So tell me, what if everything you've been taught about prosperity is a lie? What if instead of working harder, you could simply change one idea within your mind and watch your entire reality transform before your eyes? Does that sound crazy? Because that's exactly what happened to me. I had nothing. No degree, no opportunities, no connections. I worked jobs that embarrassed me, jumping from factory to factory. Until one day, someone gave me a book, Think and Grow Rich. That book didn't change my life. What changed my life was the idea within it. An idea so simple that almost no one takes it seriously. You become what you think all the time. That idea pulled me out of misery. It led me to earn more than $100,000 a year, and then millions, without even a single degree, without luck, without an inheritance, just by changing what was happening inside my mind. Now I ask you, how many powerful ideas have you had and let die because you thought you weren't capable? How many dreams have you buried because someone told you, that doesn't make money? The truth is simple. You're not stuck due to a lack of opportunities. You're stuck because you haven't yet decided to act on a powerful idea. For years, I believed the biggest lie ever told. To make a lot of money, you have to be very intelligent. That belief kept me poor. And perhaps it's what's keeping you stuck too. Think about it. How many brilliant people do you know who live in debt? And how many without formal education have built fortunes? This isn't a coincidence. The difference lies in the way you think, not in your IQ. I've seen incredible people destroy their dreams because they believed they weren't good enough. They didn't realize the enemy wasn't on the outside, it was inside their heads. I lived that way too. I worked hard, I sweated, I wore myself out with effort, and nothing changed. Do you know what I realized? Effort without mental direction is wasted energy. Everything began to change when I stopped reacting and started creating. Yes, creating, because most people live reacting to life, bills, problems, news, fear. But the 1%, they create the reality they want to live. They don't look at their bank balance to decide what's possible. They decide what's possible, and their bank balance simply follows. And here's the practical part. Grab a piece of paper now and write down the strongest belief you have about money. Maybe something like, money is hard. I'm not good with finances. I'll never have stability. Look at that sentence and ask yourself, is this really true? Or is it just something I was taught? When I did that exercise for the first time, I discovered I was living with ideas that weren't even mine. And on that day, I broke free. The secret the 1% knows is simple. They decide before they know how. Most people wait for everything to be perfect before acting, but it never is. And that's why they spend their lives waiting. I clearly remember the day I decided to open my first business, a simple cleaning service. I knew nothing about it, nothing. But I said yes, and that yes was worth more than any degree. I made mistakes, lots of them. But with each mistake, I killed a little bit of the doubt that paralyzed me, and soon that small business transformed into something enormous. Do you have any idea how many people spend decades trapped in jobs they hate just because they're afraid to fail? They don't realize that failure is the path. You can fall, you can make mistakes, you can lose, but as long as you act with decision, you're winning. Because every decision creates a new version of yourself. Now tell me, how many opportunities did you miss in the last year just because of the fear of making a mistake? A project, a new job, a chance to start over? Fear is the quietest thief there is. It steals your dreams without you even realizing it. So here's the challenge. For the next 7 days, choose something that scares you and do it anyway. It might be small, it might be uncomfortable, but do it. Because fear doesn't disappear before action, it disappears after it. Have you ever noticed how, after watching an inspiring video, the motivation disappears in a few days? You feel that burst of energy, you think, this is it, and then, suddenly, everything goes back to normal. I lived that cycle for years. I read books, listened to lectures, took courses, and nothing changed. Until I understood what was missing. It wasn't knowledge, it was repetition. The human brain doesn't change with one idea, it changes with the repetition of that idea. I heard the same teaching from Earl Nightingale more than 1,000 times before I finally truly understood it. 1,000 times. And that's when everything transformed. The difference between those who prosper and those who give up lies in this. Those who prosper repeat the truth until it becomes a part of them. Science has already proven the brain needs constancy to create new patterns. That's how you reprogram your mind. Therefore, I want you to do something simple but powerful. Choose one phrase that will guide your life starting today. It could be something like, I have the power to create wealth. And repeat that 50 times a day, every day for 30 days. Yes, 50 times, out loud. Does that seem like too much? Then tell me, how many times a day do you repeat to yourself that you're not capable, that you don't have money, that you won't succeed? If you can repeat the negative effortlessly, you can repeat the positive on purpose. Because ultimately, you don't become what you wish for. You become what you repeat. When I talk about intelligent action, I'm not just referring to doing anything. I'm talking about acting with intention, direction, and consistency. Many people think prosperity is an accident, that wealth appears by luck or coincidence. I experienced the opposite of that. I worked for years in jobs that led nowhere, but I realized that no matter how much I wanted to change my life, nothing would happen without action. It was only when I started my cleaning business, driven by a clear plan, that doors began to open. I had zero formal business experience, nothing beyond an ardent desire to create more in life, but every small step I took was deliberate. Think with me, how many times have you felt that impulse to do something different, something that could transform your life, but uncertainty or fear paralyzed you? Most people let opportunities pass by at exactly that point. They wait for conditions to be perfect, for complete knowledge, or for others' approval. I quickly learned that perfection never arrives. Action is the difference between dreaming and achieving. When I started acting, I did something many would consider insignificant. I went door to door offering my services, made simple contracts, and wasn't afraid to make mistakes. Every mistake taught me more than any book ever could. I remember one morning when I went to a commercial building with no references and secured my first big contract simply because I decided to demonstrate value and confidence. It was a small step, but it transformed my mindset. I realized that acting creates momentum. Momentum generates opportunities that were previously invisible. And here's something most people ignore. It's not just about taking isolated actions, but about creating a daily pattern of movement toward your goals. I set daily, weekly, even monthly goals, but each one required concrete actions. I called clients, visited businesses, learned from every no and adjustment I had to make. Every action was measured, conscious, and even on the days I failed, I knew I was moving forward. If you observe people who have failed financially, you'll see a pattern. They think, plan, talk, but rarely do. Or they act in a scattered way without continuity. The difference is brutal. Science also confirms this. Studies show that individuals who practice consistent actions, even small ones, increase their chances of achieving financial goals by up to 80% compared to those who merely dream. This means that intelligent action is not optional. It is mandatory. Now visualize something with me. You have a financial goal that seems distant. What would you do today if you were certain you couldn't fail? Often, the barrier you feel isn't external, it's internal. It's your fear of taking the first step. I faced that many times. With every contract I closed, with every satisfied client, my fear diminished, my confidence grew. Action creates tangible evidence that you are capable, and this feeds your mind, which in turn attracts more opportunities. So if you truly want to transform your life, don't wait for signs. Create them. Choose one concrete action today, whether it's sending an email, making a call, studying something new that increases your income, and do it. Do it with intention. Do it with consistency. Do it in such a way that in 21 days you see real, measurable movement. Because when you start to act, the universe begins to conspire in your favor. And I guarantee that first step is always the most transformative. Every deliberate move creates a bridge between where you are and the life of prosperity you deserve. Scarcity is one of the most powerful illusions that traps most people. I myself lived this for years, believing that money was hard to come by, that opportunities were rare, and that I would need to fight incessantly just to survive. After the bandsaw accident and dropping out of school, I felt that burden more than ever. It was as if life had confined me to small achievements and mediocre jobs, and the idea of prosperity seemed distant, almost impossible. But the truth is that money, like energy, isn't scarce. It flows wherever attention and intention are, and most people never learn to direct it properly. An example that always stood out to me was Oprah Winfrey. She was born into extreme poverty, experienced abuse and rejection, but decided to see life differently. She shifted her mindset, focused on creating value and opportunities, and today she's one of the most influential and wealthy people in the world. On the other hand, there are talents who, despite great gifts, were consumed by fear and a belief in scarcity. Michael Jackson, despite having unparalleled talent, ended up trapped in cycles of debt and poor financial decisions because he failed to apply principles of abundance in his life. These stories illustrate how our mindset concretely shapes our financial reality. Science also reinforces this. Studies in economic psychology indicate that individuals who view the world as abundant tend to make more assertive and creative decisions, whereas those who live with a scarcity mindset frequently experience financial anxiety, decision paralysis, and fewer growth opportunities. Every choice, every action based on fear or lack limits the expansion of your prosperity. On my own journey, I realized that to break free from this scarcity belief, I needed to train my mind to see possibilities where I once only saw barriers. I started listing opportunities, visualizing financial outcomes, and taking action even without guarantees. Every contract I closed, every satisfied client was tangible proof that the flow of prosperity was available to me. I just needed to open the door. Today, if you want to apply this, start by examining your own beliefs about money. Make an honest list of everything you believe limits your prosperity. I'm not good enough. Money is hard to come by. Wealth is for others, not for me. Question each one. Replace these ideas with abundance affirmations. Visualize opportunities you didn't even notice before, and practice this new mental pattern daily. The power lies in realizing that scarcity is a creation of the mind. When you acknowledge this and consciously decide to live in abundance, previously invisible opportunities begin to emerge, unexpected solutions appear, and money ceases to be a problem to become a tool that works for you. It's at this point that you truly begin to break through the limits most people accept as their destiny, and life transforms in profound and tangible ways. The law of attraction isn't just a nice concept or an empty philosophy. It's, in practice, emotional science. applied to real life. Our emotions are like a radar that attracts experiences similar to what we feel most intensely. I experienced this concretely when I started my first cleaning business. I had no formal experience, no powerful connections, but I had an unwavering belief that I could prosper. I maintained a positive mindset, visualizing satisfied clients, closed contracts, consistent growth. And you know what happened? The universe responded. What once seemed impossible began to materialize before my eyes. Most people never realize this because they're stuck in negative emotions, fear, doubt, anxiety. They ask themselves, what if I fail? What if I can't do it? These emotions carry weight, and they attract exactly more of the same limiting situations. Modern psychological research shows that individuals who maintain positive emotional states make smarter financial decisions, are more creative, and perceive opportunities that others simply ignore. It's impossible to underestimate the impact of how you feel. I remember a very specific case. In the first few months of my business, I had to deal with a significant refusal from a potential client. Most people would have given up, would have felt defeated. I, however, chose to transform that disappointment into positive energy. I imagined even bigger clients, even better opportunities. 2 days later, that same client returned, impressed by my persistence, and closed a contract even bigger than the one they had initially refused. It was a practical lesson. The energy you emit returns to you, often multiplied. And this doesn't just apply to business. In your daily life, visualize your financial goals with vivid detail. Feel the emotion of having already achieved what you desire. Ask yourself, how would I act if I had already reached this goal? Practice this daily, even if it seems fanciful. It's the training of the mind and emotions, calibrating your frequency to attract what you want. It's also important to recognize that emotional consistency is as essential as action. If one day you feel positive and confident, but the next you plunge into fear and doubt, you're creating an unstable field that attracts inconsistent results. I learned that maintaining an aligned emotional frequency, even in the face of challenges, is what separates those who prosper from those who remain in mediocrity. To apply this now, start with small practices. Visualize for 10 minutes a day. Feel gratitude for opportunities already present in your life. Imagine yourself receiving what you desire. Combine this with concrete actions, even small ones, that move you toward your goal. When mind, emotion, and action work together, you're not just dreaming, you're creating a reality that inevitably materializes. Every thought, every emotion, and every conscious action becomes a powerful force that shapes your financial destiny. Making radical decisions has always been a turning point in my life. I grew up with a poor self-image, without ambition, and for a long time I accepted what seemed to be my destiny, small jobs, without prospects and without direction. But at a certain point I realized that life waits for no one. Either you decide or you remain stagnant. I vividly remember when I left school, injured, with no plan, no financial security whatsoever. Many would have settled, resigned, but something inside me refused to accept mediocrity as destiny. That's when I understood. Radical decisions change the course of everything. Most people hesitate because the fear of failure is paralyzing. They ask themselves, what if I lose everything? What if it goes wrong? I confronted that head on. When I decided to leave the relative security of the fire department and invest in my first cleaning business, there were no guarantees. But that radical decision was the starting point that propelled me to learn, grow, and prosper. Every big change requires courage to break with the known, even when society or your own mind tries to convince you otherwise. The interesting thing is that the act of deciding creates a force you don't immediately perceive. It's as if the universe begins to reorganize in your favor. When I decided my life wouldn't be small, that I deserved wealth and freedom, I noticed that opportunities began to appear unexpectedly. The right people emerged, ideas materialized, doors opened. Not because luck changed, but because my mind and my actions were aligned with a firm decision. And this is a critical lesson. You can't wait for the perfect situation to make decisions. Perfection doesn't exist. The people who achieve great results are those who decide, even amidst uncertainty, and commit 100% to their choice. I've seen this myself in examples from others. Warren Buffett decided early in his life as an investor and remained steadfast, even facing economic crises. On the other hand, incredible talents like Nikola Tesla or Whitney Houston had lives marked by indecision, procrastination, and a lack of alignment in critical choices which limited or destroyed their potential at various times. Making radical decisions also involves taking full responsibility for the consequences. When I decided to create my business, I didn't blame circumstances or lack of experience. Every mistake, every temporary setback was just part of the process. This mindset of being the absolute owner of one's own life is what separates those who prosper from those who merely dream. To apply this today, choose a decision you've been postponing for months, perhaps years. It could be changing careers, starting a business, investing in something you believe in, or simply stopping accepting less than you deserve. Make that decision and commit yourself fully. Don't turn back even if obstacles arise. Observe how your life begins to move in ways you never imagined. Radical action generates movement. Movement generates results, and results reinforce your confidence, creating a cycle that completely transforms your life. If you practice this consistently, you'll see that decisions that seem frightening at first are, in fact, the catalysts for an abundant life. And the more courageously you decide, the easier it becomes to realize that the power to change your reality has always been within you. The secret that many people never understand is that true prosperity comes not just from receiving, but from giving. When I started sharing my knowledge, teaching people how to shift their mindset regarding money, I noticed something incredible. The more I helped, the more opportunities arose in my life. At first, it seemed counterintuitive. I thought, if I give my time, effort, or knowledge, I'll be losing something to others. But I quickly realized I was completely mistaken. The law of giving and receiving operates as a cycle. When you offer genuine value, when you help someone grow, that energy returns multiplied, often in ways you can't even imagine. I distinctly recall a time I decided to mentor a young entrepreneur without charging a dime. He was lost, desperate, unsure how to grow his business. I invested countless hours, shared strategies, and introduced contacts. And just a few months later, that very same young man brought me an opportunity that turned into one of the most lucrative contracts of my career up to that point. It was a profound lesson. When you plant generosity, you harvest abundance. This isn't an abstract rule. It's a practice that great leaders and successful entrepreneurs apply almost unconsciously. Think of someone like Richard Branson. His philanthropy and support for social projects didn't diminish his fortune. On the contrary, they strengthened his network, reputation, and influence, opening doors that otherwise would have remained closed. Many people overlook this because they're trapped by the fear of loss. They believe that helping others means sacrificing their own prosperity. But psychological research shows the opposite. Acts of generosity increase one's perception of well-being, strengthen social connections, and frequently create new financial opportunities. Every gesture of help is like planting a seed that, with time, blossoms into something greater than you could have planned alone. In my case, I started applying this consistently in my seminars and training sessions. Each time I shared success techniques, inspiring stories, or practical advice, I noticed a change in my own life. More invitations, more business, more influence. And every participant who transformed their life eventually became a link in a network that returned value in unexpected ways. It's a self-reinforcing cycle, and the more you give, the more you receive, not just financially, but in energy, confidence, and opportunities. To apply this today, I challenge you to find, over the next 30 days, one daily act of generosity. It could be teaching someone something you know, consciously offering financial help, or even providing emotional support to someone in difficulty. Observe how, by focusing on giving before receiving, your own life begins to expand. You'll notice that the more you contribute to the prosperity of others, the more the universe returns abundance, sometimes in ways you would never expect. True wealth isn't accumulated. It's shared. And when you understand this deeply, your perception of prosperity changes completely. You stop seeing money merely as a personal tool and begin to recognize it as energy that circulates, and that, when well directed, returns multiplied, creating a cycle of abundance for you and everyone around you. Every act of giving is, in reality, a direct step toward expanding your own prosperity. And this is the ultimate key that the 1% intuitively grasp. The most important point I want you to take from this is simple yet powerful. Your prosperity depends on aligning mind, action, and generosity. Thinking positively, making bold decisions, acting consistently, and sharing value are not abstract concepts. They are practices that transform lives. Every choice you make today, every step you take, shapes the reality you will live tomorrow. And now a new video is appearing on screen, ready to take you one more step up in your evolution of wisdom. It will help you become 1% better than you are now, delving even deeper into the secrets that separate those who prosper from those who only dream. Thank you for investing this time in yourself. I look forward to seeing you in the next video.